They say the early bird catches the fat worm. Good morning from wherever you're watching us from. Welcome to King's TV News, where we serve you with the trending news in and outside our country. Join us as we take you through, but here are the news shaping the headlines. Mukami Kimathi laid to rest, churches facing closure, Raila having an agreement with the government, MCA's push for security. I am Beyond Songoi. Welcome to the broadcast. With the grand funeral just around the corner, Jambine village has been shaken, where the bushes are being cleared and the main junction is now motorable. Karo Karemi has more on this.
With the grand funeral just around the corner, the doldrums of Jabini village have been shaken. The roads from Jabini's main junction has been made motorable. Bushes are being cleared. The Hitato idle rural population is earning a steep end from the menial jobs available. Some are in mourning for the loss of a village icon, but on the other hand are happy to take home 500 shillings a day. Since the announcement of the funeral, which is to be held on Saturday from 6 a.m. at her home village, Jabini, Nyandarua County, will be funded and planned by the government, the metamorphosis has been crystal clear. The changing fortunes of the small village are striking. The previously rusty iron sheets have been given a fresh coat of paint, while the government officials are keeping a close eye of the work in progress. Mukami Kimathi's last wish was to be buried together with her husband's remains, which are believed to be buried at Committee Prison. But will the wish be granted? From King's TV, we bid her farewell and may her soul rest in paradise. King's TV, Karo Karemi.
Churches of controversial preachers Ezekiel Odero and Paul Mackenzie are facing closure after the Register of the Societies wrote a showcase letter for the two that no activities are allowed to take place. Mary Madenge reports.
Churches of controversial preachers Ezekiel Odero and Paul Mackenzie are facing closure at the Registrar of the Societies wrote a show-cause letter for the two, and that no activities are allowed to take place. The Attorney General says that while the organization meet all the conditions at the time of registration, it has failed to file tax return for the past 10 years. He made this disclosure on Wednesday 10th during the meeting with the Senate Committee probing the death in Shakahola in Kilifi County. The two churches are involved in quit and extremist activities that have led to the death of 145 confirmed cases. In 2022, the church thought to change its name and officials, but this was rejected as the move didn't adhere to the provision of the Societies Act. As such a notice, the cancellation of its registration certificate has been issued to its management.
So we've sent them a cancellation notice. It's usually a 30 days notice to show cause why the society should not be registered.
This is the irony of what is happening at the really international churches. The church is being read by Paul Mackenzie and also Ezekiel Odero. Do you think that the churches should continue with the so-called ministry after the confirmed death cases? Mary Madenge, Kingston.
Former Prime Minister Raila Odinga on Tuesday 9th May blamed the delay's failure by the 14-member bipartisan committee to agree on the way forward. Mary Kehiu has more details on this.
Former Prime Minister Raila Odinga on Tuesday, May 9, blamed the delays failure by the 14-member bipartisan committee to agree on the way forward. Speaking during an interview with digital media outright, the ODM boss noted that he would meet Ruto after the committee conclusively reached an agreement over the issues of the government should bring down the cost of living, with priority on unga price, which he says should be 100 shillings for 2 kg packet. He has also demanded a reduction of fuel price as well as the reduction of school fees. He added that it was too soon for them to meet, yet their teams had not agreed on the framework for once. Further, he gave an example of 207 post-election where he met selected representative list on agreement of power sharing. On another hand, the castigated Kenya Kwanza for the delays experienced in the bipartisan talks underlined the need for the team to resume negotiation nearest. He added that he decided to call off the demonstration after Luto's team growled following the visit of high-level digital to the country, among them United Nations Secretary Anthony Ruto and Lyra are yet to publicly meet since 2022 general election, where the Kenya Kwanza candidate was declared as the winner.
We take a short commercial break. We'll be right back. Welcome, and now we move on. Win for the MCAs as push for bodyguards getting back on Monday 8th. Stephen Malumba, the slain Kisa East MCA, with his supporters in an earlier event. Ivan reports.
The push by the member of the County Assembly on Monday 8th May to be provided with security has received the backing of a section of governors and the senators.
It brought with it very shocking situation that none of us is safe anywhere in this Baringo. Not the leaders and not the citizens.
The two crops of leaders gave a nod to a petition by the MCA saying local legislators should be protected like other elected politicians. The support followed the killing of Kisa East MCA Mr. Stephen Maloba on 1st April around 10 a.m. at a political function organized by Quisero MP Christopher Aseka. Through the County Assembly Forum MCA's petition, the government to provide armed security officers to all the 4,200 MCAs across the country, claiming they were operating in a charged environment that exposed them to imminent danger while discharging their duties. Kings TV, Ivan Nanjala.
A Kenyan teacher has warmed Kenyans' heart after mending a student's uniform, preventing her from walking around exposed. Citizens have praised and urged the Teacher Service Commission to promote her for her noble act, where she was awarded a fully paid vacation. Rispa has more details on this.
On May 19th, the photo of teacher Joyce Sempela Malit sewing her pupil's uniform went viral and touched people. The Kenyan teacher has warmed hearts after mending a student's uniform, preventing her from walking around exposed. The teacher has been teaching for 34 years and says she always carry a needle and a thread to school. Netizens have praised and urged the Teachers Service Commission to promote Sempela for her noble act. The teacher was also awarded a fully paid vacation. After the photo of teacher Sempela went viral, well-wishers stepped in to buy for the pupil a new dress and a pair of shoes. A philanthropic cop, Saningare, bought uniform and shoes for the Narok girl. The cop now says he is raising funds to help the girl join the school's boarding wing as her family lives very far from the school, which is dangerous for her. Charlene Saiton Saipiri touched the hearts of Kenyans after she was pictured waiting for her teacher to sew her torn dress. It is now emerging that the 8-year-old girl lives with her grandmother because her parents are nomads. In what is becoming a story with happy ending, well-wishers have bought her several pairs of new school uniform and shoes. Former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko also paid fees for her to be enrolled into boarding. Reporting from Kings TV, I am Rispa Gashambi.
On matters concerning health, the Cabinet Secretary of Health Wafula held a meeting with the leadership of Kenya in Malaria Council. Cynthia has more on this.
in a bid to eradicate malaria in Kenya by the year 2030. The Cabinet Secretary of Health Nakumicha Wafula held a meeting on 11th May with the leadership of Kenya End Malaria Council at Afya House. The discussion centered on private sector engagement, resource mobilization, advocacy, and action toward achieving this goal. During the meeting, it was emphasized that the private sector plays a crucial role in bringing together concerted effort to eradicate malaria in Kenya. The Cabinet Secretary urged the Council to continue collaborating with the Ministry of Health toward the malaria-free Kenya. Malaria remains a major public health concern in Kenya, and concerted efforts are required to achieve the ambition goals to eradicate the disease by the year 2030. The Ministry of Health and the Kenya End Malaria Council are committed to working together to mobilize resources and implement effective strategies toward this end. Kings TV, Cynthia Nyambura.
We take another short commercial break. We'll be right back. Welcome back, and now we move on our business sector. The new finance bill was finally approved last week in the National Assembly. The bill comes after a lot of speculation by taxpayers or promises by the government officials. Harris Danchama has more details on this.
The new 2023 Finance Bill was finally presented to the National Assembly last week on 3rd May. The bill stipulates the revenue measures by the government in the next financial year starting 1st July. The bill comes after a lot of speculations by taxpayers, lobbying by business associations, and speeches or promises from government officials. The taxpayers had high expectations on exemption of liquefied petroleum gas (LPG) from value-added tax (VAT), levies, and fast tracking of the tax refund process. For the ordinary taxpayer, have a couple of losses and wins, such as huge tax debt. Owners have a chance to get a waiver of any accruing penalties and interest, reduced excise duty on telephone and data services, which will decrease from 20% to 15%, reduced prices for medicine, since government intends to give a variety of tax incentives to encourage local manufacturing. The proposal gives Kenya Revenue Authority an added time of 120 days to carry out and finalize audit for purposes of ascertaining the refund due to taxpayer. VAT on petroleum will increase from 8% to 16%, meaning an increase in price. In addition, employees' salary will be deducted after the introduction of mandatory contribution of the National Housing Development Fund by 3%. Mobile money transfers has not been left behind, with an increase of 12% to 15%. The clerk of the National Assembly, Samuel Njoroge, said Kenyans' views on the bill can be mailed after Parliament gave the order. Kings TV, Harriet Nyanchama.
Kenya and Israel will work together to eliminate barriers between both countries. People with loved ones in Ethiopia have gained broad smiles after Safaricom has expanded its M-Pesa boundaries. They share money by sending and receiving. Dominic has more details on this.
Kenya and Israel will work together to eliminate barriers to trade between the both countries. This is after President Ruto visited Israel, where he met the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, said there existing huge potential between the two countries. He said the absence of direct flights between Kenya and Israel is a serious impediment that continues to hamper the trade and tourism. In another sector, Safaricom M-Pesa will be in Ethiopia. People with their loved ones in Ethiopia have gained broad smiles after Safaricom have expanded their M-Pesa boundaries. They can now share money by sending and receiving.
To announce that a deal has been reached between the government of Ethiopia and Safaricom to grant a license of mobile money.
Safaricom Ethiopia have been granted a license by the National Bank of Ethiopia, allowing the telecommunication to expand the lucrative mobile money business to untapped Horn of Africa country with over 100 million people. The payment instrument user license is the first to be used in a foreign investor in the nation. The National Bank of Ethiopia has stated that a mobile money and service license to Safaricom M-Pesa Mobile Financial Service PLC, a subsidiary of Safaricom and Telecommunication Ethiopia PLC, Safaricom has paid a total of 20.5 billion, that is 150 million US dollar, to get the mobile financial service license from the Ethiopian government. Safaricom Chief Executive Officer Peter Ndegwa confirmed that the amount is a one-off payment, meaning the telecommunication will not be required to pay additional fees. In the area of agriculture, coffee farmers in Mount Kenya push for guaranteed minimum returns. Coffee farmers have asked the government to set up a fund that will cushion them against fluctuating prices by establishing a guaranteed minimum return for their produce. Speaking at a public participation forum in Nyeri on the Coffee Bill 2023 and the Tea Amendment Bill 2023, the farmers should be paid a minimum of 170 per kilogram of raw cherry delivered to the factories instead of prices below 100 shillings that are currently being paid to them.
To make sure that our farmers benefit from what they put in as labor and input in their farms.
Kenya to export 700,000 cattle to Indonesia yearly. This has come after Trade Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria signed an agreement with the Indonesian Animal Production and Animal Health Director General Il Nasura. The first shipment will be done in this year, August. Looking at the currency board, the dollar is still suppressing the Kenyan shillings, where we are attaining the dollar at 136.90 Kenya shillings, and the British pound is at 172.14 Kenya shillings. Business Report, Kings TV. I am Muya Dominic.
We now move outside our country, where the World Health Organization says the death toll from nearly 1 month of brutal fighting in Sudan is now over 600. The UN Health Agency says that more than 5,000 people have been injured in connection with the fighting between Sudan's military.
The World Health Organization says the death toll from nearly 1 month of brutal fighting in Sudan is now over 600. The UN Health Agency said on Tuesday 9th, 2023 that more than 5,000 people have been injured in connection with the fighting between Sudan military, led by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and the Military Rapid Support Forces, led by General Mohamed Dagalo. The two generals are former allies who together orchestrated on October 2021 military coup that derailed a transition to civilian rule following the 2019 ouster of longtime leader Omar al-Bashir. Tension between the generals have been growing over disagreements about how the RSF should be integrated in the army and who should oversee that process. The restructuring of the military was part of an effort to restore the country to civilian rule and end the political crisis sparked by 2021 military coup. Envoys from the two factions have been meeting in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia for several days to hash out an agreement to allow humanitarian aid to reach hundreds of thousands in need of food, shelter, and medical care in Khartoum and other Sudanese cities. The Saudi Kingdom has already pledged that it will provide Sudan with $100 million worth of aid. The United Nations Refugee Agency said on 9th Tuesday more than 700,000 Sudanese have fled their homes, a figure that is more than double the 334,000 people the agency reported to be internally displaced last week. The IOM said an additional 100,000 Sudanese have fled the country. Most aid operations have been suspended or severely scaled back due to the lack of security. Several aid workers have been killed in the fighting. Repeated ceasefire agreements have failed to end the conflict or even do much to reduce the violence. Looting also has hampered aid operations. The World Food Programme said nearly 17,000 tons of food worth between $13 million and $14 million have been stolen from its warehouse across Sudan. The WFP said Wednesday that up to 2.5 million
additional people in Sudan are expected to slip into hunger in the near future due to the violence. The UN agency says this would take acute food insecurity in Sudan to record levels. More than 19 million people, or 2/5 of Sudan's population, are currently affected, according to the WFP. Kings TV, Beyond Songoi.
Suspected LGBTQ teachers have been freed on bail after 60 days in remand and banned from accessing the school. Lydia MacArthur and her alleged partner have each been granted a bail after being caught by police in Uganda. Simon Waweru has more details on this.
Lydia Mukoho and her alleged lesbian lover Mother Naigaya have been granted a bail of 18,000 each after they were remanded for 60 days after caught by police in Jinja, Uganda. Jinja Grade 1 Magistrate Agnes Musimi released the two after they had already served their 60 days remand period. Mukoha, who is the deputy head teacher of PMM Girls School in Jinja, Uganda. Furthermore, the court ordered the two to surrender their identity cards and not to be seen in the school premises. Yet, the president of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, had made rules for jail sentence for anybody who is caught in a lesbian or gay act until they produce a child. Reporting for Kings TV, I'm Simon Waweru.
And on our feature news today, we look at Raila Odinga's political story with Karo Karimu.
Political history cannot be complete without mentioning Raila Omolo Odinga. Born on 7th January 1945, son to the late political icon Jaramogi Odinga. Raila's political career bared fruits after his university studies when he was fighting for a democratic Kenya. Following the most unlikely circumstances, a failed coup against the late former president Daniel Moi in 1982. He was placed under house arrest for 7 months and later charged with treason and detained without trial for 6 years. He was later released on February 1988. He was rearrested shortly after his release in 1988 for spearheading pro-democracy activism. A few months later, he was released on June 1989 but imprisoned again in 1990. He fled to Norway in 1991 after his release. He returned to Kenya a year later and joined Ford Party, which was led by his late father. Kenya was a one-party state dominated by KANU that was being led by the late Daniel Moi. The struggle for a multi-party continued, and in 1992 during the general election, Ford split into two, Ford led by Jaramogi and Ford Asili by Kenneth Matiba. In 1992, Raila became Lang'ata constituency MP. During 1997 elections, he finished third and retained his Lang'ata seat. In 2002, after a 24-year presidential rule by Moi, he acknowledged Uhuru as his successor, but Raila, together with his team, likes of Kalonzo and the late George Saitoti, opposed and decided to form NARC coalition. Another movement was formed, the Orange Democratic Movement, ODM, symbolizing no votes in the constitutional referendum, and took fight for a new constitution in 2010. This was during the 2007-2008 post-violence. He later demanded for power sharing between him and Kibaki. His wish was granted and became the first prime minister. During the making of the 2010 constitution, the Electoral and Boundaries Commission was formed in the year 2011. The commission is responsible for conducting or supervising referendums and elections to any elective body or office established by the Constitution. In 2013, 4th of March, the general elections were held and were the first elections held under the new Constitution.
The following is the unanimous decision of the court.
Raila was supported by Kalonzo and formed the Coalition for Reforms and Democracy, CORD. Uhuru Kenyatta was announced as the fourth president, and Raila, not pleased with the results, he contested in the Supreme Court.
I therefore declare Uhuru Kenyatta the duly elected president of the Republic of Kenya.
In 2017, Raila still vied for the presidential post, which was held on 20th August under the NASA candidature with his running mate Kalonzo Musyoka. The results showed that Uhuru had been re-elected. However, Uhuru's opponent refused to accept defeat and contested the result once again in the Supreme Court. During the petition, Chief Justice David Maraga considered the votes null and void. Raila became the happiest man on the court's decision and knew he had another chance. Voters went back to the ballot and still elected Uhuru as the president. In 2022 marked the 7th time Raila vied for the presidential seat. His competitor, being William Ruto, emerged victorious on the 9th of August general elections. During the announcement of the results, the IEBC under Chebukati group remained at Bomas, while Juliana Cherela, the vice chairperson, together with her group, distanced themselves in Serena Hotel, which led to political tension.
We have improved in the processes as IEBC. We have upped the bar. We have considered all the stages and processes that are supposed to be taken care of. But come to the last phase, the tallying phase. As I said yesterday, that at the end, that there was opaqueness. Things were not being shown to the public. You've been there, even at Bomas. And the screens are supposed to show cumulative.
According to IEBC results, William Ruto gathered 7,176,141 votes, while Raila acquired 6,942,930 votes, making William Ruto as the 5th president.
Hereby declares that Ruto William Samoei
On August 22, Raila filed a petition with the Supreme Court challenging the results announced by the IEBC chairperson Wafula Chebukati. On 5th September, the Supreme Court rejected the challenge and upheld Ruto's victory. Odinga said he would respect the court's verdict, although he still claimed victory. In 2023, Raila began his rallies, claiming that he won the August general elections. Juliana Cherela's speech on them being denied access during the vote tallying rose Raila's hopes and beliefs the whole process was tampered with even before the elections. He went ahead and challenged President William Ruto to open the IEBC servers, insisting he won with the largest number of votes. President William Ruto made a point and also cautioned Raila that the servers have always been opened, therefore saying Raila's demand is just a mere excuse to drag the nation behind and he is corrupting the mind of the people of Kenya.
Nimemwambia mtu ya kitendawili asisumbue mimi na mambo ya masaba. Hakuna mahali katiba inasema rais ndio mtu ya kufungua masaba. Yeye kwa sababu wako na nafasi mingi aende afanye hiyo kazi ya kufungua masaba. Awachane, mimi niko na kazi ya kuendesha Kenya, mimi niko na nafasi gani ya kwenda kufungua masaba? Na nilimwambia saba ilifunguliwa zamani. Kwani alikuwa wapi?
On 20th of March, Raila, being the Azimio la Umoja leader, calls people to come out in large numbers for the peaceful demonstrations to the State House to call off the president from his duties. He also said that he will not rest until he becomes the president, and also took the petition to the Supreme Court to challenge Ruto's win and the IEBC for tampering with the process. Raila, a father, a farmer, and a political icon, the presidential seat has been so near.
We take another short break. We will be back with sports news.
Welcome to Sports Arena with me, Margaret Mwangi, and these are the stories making the world of sports. We look at the EPL weekend fixtures and the results. Also, we look at the Kenyan Premier League results and the games that are going to be played this weekend.
Dodo Camavinga now becomes the youngest player in Real Madrid history to win all 6 club trophies, that is Champions League, UEFA Super Cup, Club World Cup, Copa del Rey, Spain Super Cup and La Liga. New deal has been agreed between Luka Modric and Real Madrid. He's set to sign and stay until 2024. Modric expected to sign new deals in the next days. It could be after the semi-finals against Manchester City. He said he always wanted to stay as he loves Real Madrid. No way to accept proposal from other clubs, waiting on club statement in the next weeks. Paris Saint-Germain have shown tentative early interest in Roma boss Jose Mourinho becoming their next manager. The French champions will assess their options at the end of the season, with current head coach Christophe Galtier out of contract in 2024. Defending champions Tusker closed the gap between them and leaders Gor Mahia to within 2 points after narrowly edging out Kakamega Homeboys 1-0 in an FKF Premier League match played at Ruaraka grounds on Sunday. Let's look at the EPL games results. On Saturday, Bournemouth were beaten by Chelsea with 3-1. Manchester City beat Leeds 2-1. Tottenham Hotspurs beat Crystal Palace 1-0. Wolves beat Aston Villa 1-0. Liverpool beat Brentford 1-0. Then on Sunday, Newcastle were beaten by Arsenal with 2 goals. West Ham beat Manchester United 1 goal. Then on Saturday, Leeds will be going head-to-head with Newcastle. Aston Villa versus Tottenham, Chelsea versus Nottingham Forest, Crystal Palace versus Bournemouth, Southampton versus Fulham. Then on Sunday, Brentford versus West Ham, Everton versus Manchester City, then Arsenal versus Brighton. Then let's look at here at home the games that were played. On Sunday, Mathare were beaten by Bidco 3-0. Ulinzi Stars went a draw with City Star of 1 goal. Posta Rangers were beaten by KCB 1 goal. Bandari beat Vihiga Bullets 7-2. Leopard FC were beat Zoya Sugar 1-0. Wazito went with a 0 goal with Gor Mahia. Tusker beat Homeboys 1-0. Sofapaka beat Kariobangi Sharks 1. Then on Saturday, Bidco United will be going head-to-head with Ulinzi Stars, KCB versus Sofapaka, Police versus Mathare United, Vihiga Bullets versus Talanta, Wazito versus Posta Rangers, Kariobangi versus Tusker. Then on Sunday, Gor Mahia will be going head-to-head with Leopards, Homeboys versus Nzoia Sugar, City Stars versus Bandari.
That has been Sports Arena with me, Margaret Mwangi. Thanks for watching.
That was our sports news, and thank you for being with us. And remember, aspire to inspire before you expire. Thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to follow us on all our social media handles at Kings TV on Facebook and Kings Fraternity on YouTube. I am Boyan. See you on our next bulletin.